Ayahuasca is a potent brown hallucinogenic liquid that looks like mud, tastes like tree bark, and is the reason why your project manager Steve now wears a necklace of wooden tribal beads around the office. Despite being illegal in the United States, the great Amazonian plant teacher has piqued the curiosity of many in the Western world over the last decade, and perhaps no group has embraced the drug with more enthusiasm than the loose conglomerate of founders, celebrities, biohackers, and podcasters that have congealed to form today's modern tech world.
I did that ayahuasca, and that was really interesting.
I've been enjoying it since I did ayahuasca.
Which happened to be with ayahuasca.
The ayahuasca.
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 The ayahuasca.
Let me ask a Joe Rogan question. Do you think they'll be... I just recently taken ayahuasca. Do you think...
However, some of the biggest investors in Silicon Valley have recently condemned ayahuasca for completely frying the brain of the founders they're counting on to build the pointless apps of tomorrow. So is it a good idea for these tech types to be sucking from the teat of Mother Waska? Let's find out. Now, ayahuasca has been used in healing rituals in South America for thousands of years, which is why you'll commonly hear it referred to as a medicine. However, it grew to American pop culture prominence in the early 2010s after it was taken by a number of high-profile celebrities and also Chelsea Handler. This coincided with legitimate medical research into the potential benefits of psychedelics for treating things like depression, anxiety, PTSD, and substance abuse. But don't let all that give you the wrong impression. Tripping on ayahuasca? Ain't all daisies and roses.
It can feel like you're itchy, vomiting, coughing, laughing, crying, like the different ways in which the movement of energy affects us. And a given cup of medicine is going to last a few hours. You know, you're going to peak in this like intensity and then start to come down.
Courtney is the CEO of Plant Medicine People, a group that organizes plant-based healing rituals.
Everybody's different in terms of how intense it is, and every ceremony is different, but most of the time what will happen is the visuals will kick in, like sacred geometry, alien kind of energy. Sometimes we start getting memories of our childhood, like that we're starting to unravel, but it opens up. You often purge. And you purge or vomit because it's releasing trapped energy, emotions.
Ah, yes. I recall releasing many trapped emotions into the sink of my freshman dorm's communal bathroom back in college after my first party. That was cool.
So as the medicine wears off, the next morning, the next day, just feeling peaceful, connected, like happy, not stressed out, not thinking about our to-do list, not worrying about anything, just like, oh God, it's good to be alive. Like that, and I can't promise people feel that. It is common, not guaranteed, but it's my favorite part.
Sometimes when people are feeling adrift and they feel like they need to make a change, they do ayahuasca. But ayahuasca isn't the answer to every problem. For example, maybe you're feeling bad because you're actually bad at budgeting and you're spending a bunch of money on random subscriptions. Well, in that case, what you should do is Rocket Money, not ayahuasca. Rocket Money is an app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and generally manage your money better. Ayahuasca? Not good for that. Me personally, I use Rocket Money to cancel subscriptions I forgot about. Once you connect your bank, Rocket Money tosses all your subscriptions into a single list. You can select the ones you don't want anymore, and Rocket Money can help you cancel with just a few taps, which sounds splendid, unlike the images my subconscious might have waiting for me and my true self following a good old imbibe sesh of the Waska. To try Rocket Money out today and unlock more features with premium, head to rocketmoney.com/goodwork or click the link in the video description. And to continue learning about maximizing shareholder value with ayahuasca, keep it right here, folks. Because doing ayahuasca can be so intense, a cottage industry of ayahuasca retreats have popped up around the world to guide trippers on their journey.
Our programs are designed to be under a 7-week program, so we do 3 weeks prior of coaching and preparation online, 1 week of real work, retreat work, and 3 weeks of post-integration.
So we cater a lot to, let's say, overachievers, high performers that really want to, apply those skills maybe or find, greater purpose, in what they're doing, or maybe further the purpose that they've already started.
Daniel Yepez and Brandon Evans are the owners of 2 different ayahuasca retreats in Costa Rica, Behold and One Heart. Retreats like these not only operate in countries where ayahuasca is legal, but they also attract high-end clientele by offering premium services like hiking, lodging, and fine dining. And all this adds up to a more bougie experience than, say, DMing a woman on Facebook who runs a yoga studio in Bushwick, calls herself a shaman, and plays Shape of You while you vomit uncontrollably into a paint bucket from Home Depot.
Yeah, it's really nestled into nature, waterfalls and horseback riding and amazing food and service, temazcal, sweat lodge, ice baths, yoga, conscious movement. We stay in glamping, so intense, but it's really comfortable, but also super integrated with nature, where you're not just like staying at some hotel on the beach.
The nourishment and the food we provide, farm to table, food that is really nourishing and helping in preparation of the cleansingness that we're looking for in the body.
Now, these retreats told me they do all kinds of things to bring in different types of people, including by offering scholarships and more affordable packages. But let's be honest, when you hear about all this shit, only one group comes to mind. The tech crowd who I was talking about earlier, who love nothing more than biohacking and optimizing.
There's definitely a lot of startup people, a lot of entrepreneurs. It's, so just some of our marketing and how we message things.
It's biohacking at the highest level. It's the ability for you to tap into your algorithm, into your core, and make the changes if you choose to.
What you're viewing when you see somebody rolling around and puking and crying, that's 10 years of therapy. That is an intense, turbocharged experience of healing, of therapy.
And I'll be honest, turbocharged therapy sounds pretty good. And painful. And erotic. Sounds beautiful, actually. But not everyone is as jazzed about these ayahuasca retreats.
To build a center in the middle of the jungle, you need to have electricity, you need to have water, drinking water, you need to have a toilet. And all this, you need to go to the river. The destruction in this moment in the jungle in the last 30 years is incredible. Behind to this is the dark power what exists always. The economy.
Dr. Ruben Orellana is a Peruvian anthropologist who says that many business people have come to Peru and built ayahuasca retreats that play into tourists' fantasies of what a life-changing experience in the jungle will be. But he also argues that, in reality, a lot of these retreats don't pay the locals they hire fairly and do irreversible damage to the surrounding environment.
I have the idea, I build the center, I charge to you $1,000, and I give to the native people, no, $1,000. Behind to this is no ayahuasca for healing. Behind to this is the business. Native people is not stupid. I put money here, and they say, what do you want? You need to jump in one leg. Okay, I jump in one leg. That's okay, because I need the money.
Now, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that after 7 whole days of sweat vomiting into an underpaid Peruvian guy's lap who has to pretend that he likes it, Effervescent Retreats saw me as a business opportunity instead of a lost soul on the path to salvation? Well, as we say in Peru, Ruben, no me compro. Now, Ruben does admit that there are probably some ayahuasca retreats that are run well, and his criticisms don't necessarily apply to Brandon or Daniels. But Ruben isn't the only one critical of fancy founders hooving it down South America way to go free-range brain mode. Mark Andreessen doesn't give a shit about the jungle, but he definitely cares about seeing a return on his investments. Earlier this year, the venture capitalist Egglord, one of the biggest VCs in the world, went viral on Twitter for coming out against this mystical broth. The core of Andreessen and other VCs' critique is that ayahuasca doesn't actually help the founders who take it reach enlightenment and find their true selves. Instead, it strips them of their motivation and drive that they need to achieve max capitalism. But would you believe it, one founder I spoke to was grateful for his ayahuasca experience, which, while physically difficult, helped him reshuffle his priorities.
When you close your eyes, when you're deep in an ayahuasca experience, it feels like you are somewhere else. You see more than what you think is possible, and you can't really explain it, but I was kind of getting the idea pummeled into me about the fact that Mother Nature and the environment is much more important than what Mark Andreessen said on Joe Rogan last week. Life is about making the best of the time you have, I think, and enjoying the things that you do. It's a perspective setting experience like a brick to the face.
Now, Bill's investors may not be as excited about him realizing he should care about things other than his company. However, some founders would argue that tripping on ayahuasca actually aligns them with their company goals.
Even though it might be scary to go down that path, I think considering something as transformative as Aya could really be eye-opening and could get people really unstuck.
Eddy Vaisberg is a former founder and current investor in a field that he defines as spirit tech, which, look, I don't know. Eddy's a big proponent of apparently what the cool kids are now calling Aya. But he brings up the interesting point that if ayahuasca makes founders find that they don't feel favorable feelings about being founders, well then, frankly and fairly, those fine folks shouldn't find themselves founders in the first place. Do I make myself clear?
It really depends on what you're optimizing as a VC. If you're optimizing for straight line short-term returns, on a 2 to 3 year time frame, I think it still could make sense in some situations. But for a lot of founders, an experience like this can really trigger the root cause of why they do what they do. And in some cases could make them question why they do what they do, which could then lead to, as Mark put it, losing founders, quote unquote. I do think that there is a risk that if you're working just to make a quick buck, and that's your motivating force, and you don't actually care at all about what you're working on, then of course something as transformative as Aya that pushes you into deeper alignment and deeper purpose could shift that.
So here's the deal. If you're a tech type and you're ayahuasca curious, why don't you sit down and let me give you a little advice my grandpa would always tell us growing up. He would always say, if you're looking to do drugs for the same reason that folks have always done drugs, then who am I to judge? Just double check that ayahuasca retreat you're headed to isn't paying local slave wages before you book that Delta flight, partner. But if you're a founder looking to drink Mama Aya so you can fall back in love with the Ivy League dating app you're working on, be aware that the Great Mother might reveal to you that breeding Nepo babies for investor returns isn't what life is all about. Nothing wrong with that, but maybe it's possible you could have come to that conclusion with a little honest introspection too. Dan, my real grandson, sometimes you don't need to trip balls in the jungle just to decide you should quit your stupid tech job. R.I.P. Pop Pop. He was a very prescient man. For good work, I'm Dan Toomey.
So what is it you want?
So we're talking about ayahuasca today.
You know it's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, just take a few minutes.
This is, like when family's supposed to get together and spend time together. And
I've been drinking quite a bit today.
Oh, we know. We're all frankly pretty concerned.
Tell me a little bit about ayahuasca. What is ayahuasca? You're a nerd. You should know this stuff.
So the active component in ayahuasca is a chemical called DMT, or dimethyltryptamine. It produces fairly intense hallucinogenic reactions that are typically short order, usually on the order of 10 to 15 minutes. However, that typically in ayahuasca is combined with a different type of plant product that, when taken together, causes a hallucinogenic experience that can last on the order of hours.